Hey guys, I am here with Daryl Rhyne of Pro Taekwondo in Roanoke. So Daryl, tell me a little bit about the history of this place. Like, when did you guys start the business?
Oh, wow. We started in 1999, just me and Mandy, no kids.
Your wife,
My wife, yes.
Your awesome wife, by the way.
No kids. We were so young, so wet behind the ears, had no idea what I was really doing. And I was really blessed. Our Grandmaster Chang Lee invited me to come out here and start a school, and I really didn't know what that meant when he did it. I just knew that I was going to get to be an instructor. And he actually brought me in. He stuck with me for, 3 or 4 months, kind of taught me some of the ropes, kind of showed me how to pay the bills and how to bring in students and stuff like that, how to teach some classes. And then after about 4 months, he basically came in with a little booklet and he said, this is the loan that I took out for the school, and just make sure that that monthly payment gets paid every month, and I'll see you later. And that was like, I still run into him. I still see him, of course. But that was it. And then I was just figured it out as I went along, really.
That's great. I think in general, that's all businesses. Unless you really have unless you're willing to pay a mentor, we all just figure it out as we're going and get better as we get older. So what attracted you to Taekwondo?
I wasn't much of an athlete in high school or as a kid. I hung out with kind of rougher crowd and really wasn't very healthy. And I got to be an older teenager and just out of high school. And I was like, I shouldn't feel this way. As an 18-year-old kid, I should feel good and I should feel athletic. And I felt like I had some natural athletic ability that I just never really used. And I've always loved martial arts. I remember as a kid having stacks of martial arts magazines and watching all the movies and the Chuck Norris and all that stuff. And so I had a friend who was taking Taekwondo that I was working with, and he said, hey, why don't you come and check out this tournament that I'm doing this weekend? And I'm okay, great, And so I went, and I felt almost foolish because I was like, why am I in the stands? Like, I could be down there doing that.
Nice.
What a waste of time, And so I signed up and I totally fell in love with it. It was just like, it was totally fast paced. It wasn't like some of the other martial arts that I had dabbled with and stuff. It was very fast paced, and they quickly not only showed you the techniques, but showed you how to apply them in the ring. And then I was able to kind of pull out that athletic part of myself, And,
Cool. So tell me, what is, everybody hears the term black belt, and they immediately think, oh, that guy's a badass, right? Tell me, what does that mean? What is a black belt? What does that mean?
Man, to be honest with you, a black belt really means so much, and it means so much more than just kicking butt. I don't ever, when somebody tells me they're a black belt, I don't ever think like, oh, this person could beat people up. I immediately think, oh, this person's dedicated. They know how to stick with something even when it gets tough. This person's probably been knocked down several times and gotten back up several times. This is the kind of person that I know, whether they can kick butt or not, the mental and the spiritual attributes of the martial arts, those are the kind of people that I want to hire and just be around,
Nice. I've heard, and I don't know if this is right, but I've heard that once you get to a black belt level, that is it called mastering the basics? Is that what it?
Literally, like yep. A black belt is literally just a master of the basics. I think so many people think that when you get to black belt, then you're done. Like it's like the graduation, but in my opinion, being a black belt it's kind of maybe a high school graduation,
Right.
And you graduate from high school, but then you're supposed to take that education and do something with it, add some worth to it and actually apply it. And so black belt's not where it ends. Black belt is really where it starts. That's where you begin to get the experience.
Cool. So what are the different, I'm just kind of curious, just because I really don't know, the different degrees of a black belt. Do they have meaning behind them, or are they just different levels?
Yes.
Like you're playing a video
well,
game.
They do. Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot of it has to do with time. I believe they're about 10 degrees. It's my understanding that 9 and 10 are political. It's more about what you've done for the Taekwondo community.
Gotcha.
Have you put on tournaments? How have you spread the Taekwondo, the good news of Taekwondo, if you will?
Tell me about your teaching. Like, everybody's got their own teaching style, their own instructing style. How do you get kids who are 5 years old and you have kids who are well, you have adults.
Adults, yeah.
Right? So obviously you need to cater to each, it's a good idea to cater to each learning style and
Sure.
each age maturity level.
Sure.
So what's your philosophy behind that?
Well, every kid or every person is completely different and learns a bit differently. I like to think I'm a little bit of old school mixed with some new school. I mean, there's been, as far as like respect and integrity and answering with yes sirs and no sirs and yes ma'ams and no ma'ams, things like that. I mean, we're really big on that. But we also use a lot of, I guess you call it new school. We've learned so much as just teachers in general.
Sure.
How to positively reinforce lessons and yeah, there are some times where you have to be a little bit of tougher. You have to show a little bit of tough love. But I really also believe in giving credit where the credit's due. When a kid is struggling or having a hard time or maybe having a disciplinary issue,
sure.
we deal with it right away, and then we try to learn from it, and then we immediately move on. And as soon as I've seen an improvement in that area, I make sure to really, really let them know, hey, you've improved, and you seem to be a different person already sometimes.
Nice. So piggybacking off of that, what kind of what do you see as a result of that? The positive reinforcement.
I had a kid the other day who was having a really tough match, and he just turned 6, and he was having a really tough match, but he wasn't hurt. He just got frustrated and upset and started crying. And I told him, hey, there's no crying in Taekwondo. You need to get a hold of yourself. You need to get together. And I gave him a few minutes, and then when he came back out, I told him, hey, don't get emotional over it. Just listen to me. Let me coach you through it. Listen to what I'm doing. Apply what we're doing, what I'm telling you to do, and I promise you everything's going to come out completely different.
Nice.
And you would not believe the difference in the kid. The only difference was the attitude, but the outcome was a completely different outcome. This kid didn't get the best of him that second round, and I was so glad that it happened because it was one of those. It's like a really big step in a really small portion of time, and it was really cool to just see his face light up when he did what I said and saw, oh my gosh, it worked, and I watched the kid's confidence just go up tenfold in like 5 minutes, so.
Nice, very cool. So with that, tell me a little bit about some of the deeper stuff with respect to the tenets of Taekwondo that you guys teach. Taekwondo is, and hey, this is called a dojang, not a dojo, right?
Correct, yeah.
Tell me about that. What's the difference?
Well, that's Korean. It's not dojo is just Japanese, and dojang is Korean.
Oh, gotcha.
That's all. It means the same thing,
nice,
though.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about the tenets and how you apply those to teaching to get those character qualities into the kids so they start living that way.
We have 5 tenets of Taekwondo: respect, integrity, perseverance, indomitable spirit, and self-control. And everything about our program gives students a chance to practice those character techniques. It's not, Taekwondo is not some magic thing. I always say it doesn't really create character, it exposes character. And then you have a chance to see, you get to decide to see, okay, well, do I want to change that about myself, or do I want to like pick myself up,
Sure.
dust myself off, and wander off as if nothing happened? So obviously lots of little things, we're constantly trying to show respect by, we answer yes sir and no sir, yes ma'am and no ma'am. That includes the instructors and the adults as well. We tend to call, our black belts by their last name, or, Miss Mandy or Mr.
Gotcha.
Daryl, things like that. A lot of anytime before and after a match, we always face our opponents and we bow in a respectfully.
Great.
So those things are being taught there, or that way there. Integrity. Either you practice hard or you don't practice hard,
right.
And integrity doesn't ever lie. So when the kids, or the students, I should say, come in and they're not really making the progress, well, we talk to them a little bit about integrity and how they need to be doing things, practicing, especially when nobody's looking and watching or pushing
Sure.
them, And when they come back and they get results after that, then integrity makes sense to them, Obviously, you have to have a lot of self-control. I've seen so many matches where somebody lost their temper and they lose almost 100% of the time. It doesn't go the other way. I've always told my students, I'm like, you're worried about making somebody mad. make them mad, because then they get emotional,
Sure.
they lose their
Totally.
temper, they're not thinking, there's no strategy, and it's an easy win, So, because we do a lot of sparring and we do a lot of tough stuff like that, they have to learn, they have to learn that indomitable spirit, and they have to learn that, those tenets, those 5 tenets.
Awesome. So with that thought, do you have any stories of like, not necessarily breakthroughs, but from a parent's perspective, hey, we saw a huge improvement in our son because of this, this, and this. Do you have any of that?
Oh, I probably have countless. One that really comes to mind was more of a physical. Well, no, it was both physical and mental. We had a student years ago. He had cerebral palsy, and he came in. And when he first came in, he couldn't run. He couldn't really kick above his ankles, or not quite to his knees. No confidence. Was really kind of down on himself, and probably even a little bit depressed now that I think about it. And so his grandparents, I think it was, got him involved. And after 2 or 3 years, this kid he was leading the class. He was running and leading the class. He went through our national training program during the summer that year, and he fell on his face, I don't know how many times, and every time he got back up. By the end of training, he was just nothing but a bunch of scratches and bruises, but he never quit. He came back every morning. There were so many other perfectly healthy kids. I'm sore, I'm tired, this hurts, and here's this kid falling on his face every day and getting back up. And it was just, I saw that for myself, but then afterwards having the parents and the grandparents come in and just thank me and let me know that, hey, this hasn't just affected him here. He's not just doing these things here. He's applying it at school and at home, and it's really completely changed his life. So that's just one story that I can think of.
That's awesome.
That really stays with me.
And along that same line, I think in general, martial arts is, it's a great foundational sport for a lot of other sports too, and a lot of other programs in going through the school system, right? Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, we have a lot of students that this is not their main sport, but they come here to get the footwork, the agility, the speed, the endurance, the overall body workout. So they come here to make their other sports better. We've had a lot of soccer athletes that come in, a lot of baseball and football athletes that come in. Gymnastics is another one. A lot of gymnastics, because that's all body control, and that's what we do here too. So yeah, absolutely. Taekwondo just enhances and just kind of adds to whatever it is you might be doing.
Awesome. Okay, so bonus question. I remember, I don't know if you're still doing it, but a while ago you were actually taking boxing lessons yourself. Are you still doing boxing?
I don't get to train as much as I would like to. I really wish I could. Unfortunately, most classes are going on at the same time that I am doing classes now. But I really fell in love with that. I did have an amateur fight. I didn't want to have too many fights because I feel like I'm pretty good looking, but not good looking enough to give any of it away. You know what I mean? I don't want to be bruising it up, But anyways, no, I loved it. I fell in love with the sport. And that's why now we have the kickboxing program, because I saw what it was doing for not just me, but there's people of all ages. We had a lady in my kickboxing class who was like 88 years old, and she was there almost every day, working out with everybody right next to the rest of us athletes.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about kickboxing with, some of the takeaways, endurance, all that kind of stuff.
It's an all body workout, and what I really try to do is I try and train people like they're getting ready for a fight, like for a real fight. But we take away the pressure. We don't do sparring in our body. It's a fitness kickboxing. We don't do any sparring. You're not usually working too much with other partners or anything like that. It's just you in a bag, or you and me in a pair of mitts.
Right.
But gosh, man, endurance, strength. I had one lady tell me, she actually took a break and she called me and she said, hey, I need to come back because my husband told me I've never had a body like I did when I took Taekwondo or when I took kickboxing.
Nice.
And so she's all excited to come back, So it's just a great workout without the pressures of, I think sometimes people are shy away from the Taekwondo because they know they have to practice, they have to study, there's going to be a test, there's all these things. And so we've kind of taken that aspect away. You get to come in, you get to learn some of the same techniques, some of the same strategies, but without the pressure of actually sparring or having to test or anything like that. You get to come in and just work out, go home feeling good.
So another question I had was also with respect to sparring. So I think if somebody sees little kids sparring, especially high level kids, when I say high level, I mean kids in the upper black belts, they're pretty good at sparring. To a parent who is not familiar with martial arts, that could kind of dissuade them from having their kids come in. What would you say about that?
I think some people maybe think of it as kind of violent, but to be honest with you, like, I hate to say it, but the world's a violent place, and it's not, how do I say this?
It seems to me like there's a whole lot more control.
Well, absolutely. There are rules.
Right.
And I always say, we teach you how to spar. We don't just throw you out there and say, all right, let's see how good you are.
Right.
We teach you. So there are rules. And yes, there is controlled contact, especially with kids. We have what's called a junior safety rule. So it's very light contact to the head. If the head contact does seem excessive by a referee or even a coach, points can be taken away, or the other person could actually be disqualified. So there's a lot of safety going on. And we've not had any problems with concussions or any major injuries. I think to be honest with you, our biggest injury is usually stubbing your toe on the mats. And if you've ever done that, you know that it's a big injury, but that usually is it. We really keep everybody safe, and I mean, that's our number one priority. But we also want to teach these kids that life's rough sometimes, and just because something hurts or just because you get knocked down, sometimes you got to just get back up and you got to push back a little bit,
Okay, so wacky question. What is Taekwondo and what's the meaning of the word Taekwondo?
It literally translated, it means the way of kicking and punching.
Great.
That's it.
Great.
Do is way, and Taekwondo is the way of kicking and punching.
Nice. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks a lot. This has been really, really cool. How can people find out more about your dojang and what you guys have to offer?
Well, you can always go to our website. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook too, or you can even just swing by, man. We'd love to see you.
Awesome. So you have classes going on just about every day, right?
Yes, sir. 5 days a week.
Awesome. Very cool. So
morning and evening. Yeah, morning and evening.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks a lot, Daryl. Appreciate it.
Thank you.